death feels like the ultimate severance, right? Like the final cutting of the cord.
Oh, absolutely. The ultimate ending.
But what if it's actually humanity's greatest survival technology for reunion? I mean, welcome to today's deep dive.
It's a heavy topic, but super fascinating.
Totally. So we're exploring this deeply philosophical, surprisingly biological, and honestly just a really moving piece of source material. It's called The Gathering of Souls, Reflections on Death, Mourning, and Human Continuity.
Yeah, and our mission for this deep dive is to look at a shift that, you listening have probably felt creeping into your own daily routine.
Right, like how modern society is just rapidly losing its ability to physically gather.
Exactly. We're going to examine the dangerous rise of what the text calls digital empty carbs.
I love that phrase.
Right. And we'll break down how the ancient, sometimes chaotic rituals of human grief might literally be the only things keeping our social immune system intact.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the mechanics here, we have to start with the concept the source calls the day of departure.
Yes, the day of departure.
And it anchors this with a thought from the poet Kahlil Gibran, which sets the stage perfectly. He suggests we fundamentally misunderstand what separation actually does to the human network. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so Gibran wrote, "Shall my day of departure be indeed my day of gathering?"
Wow.
He basically observed that love doesn't truly realize its own depth until the exact hour of separation. And the author of our source text takes that poetic idea and uses it as a strict architectural blueprint for the human condition.
Like an actual blueprint.
Right. Death forces a physical halt. It forces us to hit the brakes on our super individualized, hyper efficient routines.
Because you suddenly have to buy a plane ticket, travel across physical distances, and stand shoulder to shoulder in a room with people you might not even like that much.
Exactly. It shatters that modern illusion that we are just these solitary atoms bouncing around. It reminds us that we are actually dependent threads, woven into a much larger tapestry.
Which sounds incredibly dignified in theory.
In theory, yes.
But the text immediately pulls us down into the messy reality of what these gatherings actually look like on the ground. It proves that true connection is rarely perfectly neat.
Oh, it is almost never neat.
Yeah. We get this vivid description of a Muslim funeral prayer, the Janazah, specifically within diaspora communities. And the scene painted isn't one of silent, stoic weeping. These are meant to be highly solemn occasions, right? Prayer, reflecting on mortality.
Yeah.
But they almost inevitably morph into these massive, loud social affairs.
Totally.
You've got people who haven't seen each other in a decade reuniting in the parking lot. There's chatting, catching up, occasionally even bursts of laughter, and just a massive amount of food being served.
And that reality creates a severe friction in the text.
Right.
We are introduced to an Arab sheikh, this religious leader, who is deeply frustrated by this dynamic. From a strict theological standpoint, he views all that loud socializing as a total departure from reverence.
He thinks they're being disrespectful.
Exactly. He sees the chatter as disrespectful to the gravity of the grave. But the source introduces an anthropological perspective that completely reframes the entire scene.
I found this so interesting.
It really is. Anthropology doesn't view that laughter and chatter in the parking lot as disrespect. It views it as a critical biological and psychological survival mechanism. A brief rebellion against the unbearable heaviness of the grave.
It's like a collective pressure valve.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Because when a death occurs, you have the immediate family standing at the absolute center of the blast radius. They're utterly consumed by raw grief. They cannot physically or emotionally handle small talk.
No, they're completely overwhelmed.
Right. But the surrounding community, the extended family, the old college friends, the neighbors who are being a bit messy and loud, they're acting as a necessary buffer. They're absorbing the atmospheric shockwaves so the immediate family doesn't have to hold the weight of the void all by themselves.
And the text notes the food being served is often considered sadaqah, right? Which means charity, offered for the soul of the deceased.
Yeah, but even just the physical act of cooking for 200 people, of forcing the community to eat together, it grounds everyone in their bodies when their minds are reeling.
What's fascinating here is what the author calls the ritual gap.
The ritual gap.
Yeah, it's the space where the human social instinct completely overtakes the strict spiritual purpose of the event.
Ah, I see.
To a religious purist, the sacred feels diluted in that gap, but the text's ultimate conclusion is that the mere fact these people are physically showing up is a monumental triumph.
because it's so much easier not to nowadays.
Exactly. In a modern era where it is infinitely easier to just, send a text message, the fact that people endure the inconvenience of traveling and cooking and standing in that noisy room, that is a massive triumph over modern isolation.
So if this physical presence is a biological imperative, what happens to us when we replace that messy gathering with a screen?
That is the big question.
The source introduces this fascinating diagnostic tool to answer it. It delivers a critique of our modern condition from the perspective of an artificial intelligence.
Right. The author engaged in a dialogue with an AI, and the resulting analysis is honestly chilling, precisely because the AI possesses zero biology.
Right, it's completely transparent about that.
Yeah. It has no beating heart, no amygdala to process fear, no cortisol stress hormones, and absolutely zero fear of its own extinction.
But what it does have is a comprehensive statistical map of human wisdom.
Exactly. It has processed everything from Kahlil Gibran to modern sociology papers, and it synthesizes all of it into one glaring warning about how we communicate.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because I kind of want to play devil's advocate and push back on that warning for a moment.
Go for it.
Because it is so easy to romanticize the past.
Yeah.
But today, I can instantly video call a grieving friend on the other side of the planet. I can organize a GoFundMe for a widow in 5 minutes and reach thousands of people. That digital bridge feels incredibly powerful. Isn't global digital communication better than isolation? It feels like we're expanding our village.
Well, what stands out to you about that? I mean, it expands the reach, certainly, but the AI clarifies that it fundamentally alters the depth.
The depth.
Yeah, think about the physical sensation of scrolling through 50 identical sorry for your loss comments on Facebook versus the physical sensation of a neighbor walking through your front door holding a casserole dish.
Wow. Yeah, that's a completely different feeling.
The AI's cold hard truth is that human survival is no longer a biological game. It is a sociological one. We aren't fighting saber-toothed tigers anymore.
Right, the existential threats are different now.
Exactly. Climate collapse, AI misalignment, nuclear escalation. These require global collective action. Collective action requires immense trust, and trust requires repeated, vulnerable, physical co-presence.
Because there is an actual neurochemical mechanism to bonding
Yeah.
that screens literally cannot trigger. Like, when you stand shoulder to shoulder with someone at a funeral, your mirror neurons are firing. Your oxytocin levels, the hormone for deep bonding and empathy, they are spiking. Your nervous systems are literally syncing up.
And the digital substitute?
It relies on dopamine. It is the exact same short-term chemical reward loop you get from playing a slot machine.
And that biological deficit leads the AI to diagnose modern society with what it calls diabetes of the soul.
Spiritual diabetes.
Yes. We are gorging on digital empty carbs instead of consuming high-nutrient social calories. The AI points out that we currently give endless amounts of data, we post photos, we click like, but we provide almost zero actual presence.
So we get fragmentation, polarization, and just intense loneliness.
Exactly. Rituals like the shared meal or the funeral, they aren't just quaint cultural traditions, they are our social immune systems.
So if physical gathering is the medicine that keeps the social immune system functioning, how do different cultures engineer the delivery of that medicine?
Yeah, they do it very differently.
All right, the text highlights a jarring contrast here, a cultural blueprint of East versus West.
That's a huge divide.
In Eastern traditions, and the text broadly groups Muslim, Hindu, Chinese, and Orthodox Christian practices here, funerals are treated almost like massive tribal contracts.
Right, they're not quiet affairs.
No, they are loud, expensive, deeply communal, and intentionally disruptive to daily life. They focus on the merging of clans and public displays of solidarity. The family doesn't outsource it. They often wash the body themselves and stay with it in the home for days.
Then look at the Western or Northern European traditions. They have trended heavily toward intimate individualism.
Super private.
Everything is privatized. You have a highly efficient 20-minute chapel service, followed by a subdued tea reception. The body is whisked away by professionals. Grief is treated as this private hurdle you're expected to get over, not a communal weight.
The profound irony highlighted by the source is that Western funerals are efficient but lonely, while Eastern ones are messy but communal. It forces the tribe to physically show up.
It really does.
It's basically the difference between treating grief like a private, sterile medical appointment versus treating it like a noisy community infrastructure project.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. In the West, you go into the clinic, the professionals handle it quietly, and you heal at home so you don't bother anyone. The Eastern approach assumes the bridge has collapsed, and everyone is required to show up and lift a shovel. It's chaotic, but the heavy lifting gets distributed.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see why the Arab sheikh we talked about earlier was so frustrated by the noise at the janazah.
Right, he hated the chatter.
But the text argues he was missing the architectural genius of the event. That noise in the parking lot is literally the sound of the community carrying the bereaved. It is the infrastructure project at work and something social media utterly fails to do.
Absolutely. Now, we've been discussing everyday grief, right? But the source forces us to look at the extremes of human suffering. How do these rituals survive or fail in the context of war?
This is where the text gets incredibly heavy.
And just a quick reminder for you listening, we're strictly looking at this through a psychological and sociological lens, reporting the source's philosophical analysis impartially. We are not taking political sides here.
Right, purely analytical.
Okay, so the text draws a sharp psychological boundary between two roles in a conflict zone, the enemy and the sufferer.
Right. For the combatant, or the enemy, insensitivity is a deliberate, engineered mechanism.
It has to be trained.
Yes. To operate a drone or drop a bomb, they must deliberately distance themselves, dehumanizing targets into collateral damage. The text categorizes this as a sin of commission.
But the psychology of the sufferer, the civilian on the ground, operates completely differently. The source notes that the sufferer does not become cold or insensitive, they become numb.
Numbness is very different from coldness.
Exactly. It's a profound biological mercy, an emergency circuit breaker. If you have to dig someone out of the rubble on Monday and bury a child on Wednesday, the human psyche simply cannot process that without a total psychotic break.
The text delivers this devastating line: mourning is a luxury of the safe.
Wow. Mourning is a luxury of the safe.
You cannot properly grieve when your nervous system is entirely consumed by the need to survive the next 10 minutes.
Right.
The text illustrates this by looking at Shia Muslims mourning the martyrdom of Hussein at Karbala. A writer observed that in this context, society has as many dead members as living members.
So what does this all mean? How are we supposed to process the heavy realization that a sufferer's silence isn't coldness, but literally the loudest grief there is?
Well, it reframes the dead. They are not viewed as gone. They are a silent constituency.
As silent constituency.
Yes. They hold the living accountable. They demand justice and remembrance. It's not backward-looking nostalgia. It's an active present reality.
And this concept that the dead are active members of society holding us accountable, it isn't unique to one group. The source shows it's a universal thread woven through entirely different belief systems.
It really is universal.
We see it clearly in Judaism, in Shia Islam, and in Confucianism. Let's look at Judaism first.
Okay, so in Judaism, you have the practice of the yahrzeit, the annual anniversary of a death. The family lights a candle and recites the Kaddish.
Right.
But the critical mechanism is the giving of tzedakah, or charity. The logic is so practical. A soul in the grave lacks a physical body, so it can't earn earthly merit. The living must earn it for them. The bond transfers to ritual agency.
That was a huge aha moment for me, synthesizing that the Jewish son giving charity isn't just remembering his dad.
Right.
He's actively extending his father's life through his own physical deeds.
Exactly. And you see that same active continuity in Shia Islam with the massive mourning pilgrimage of Arbaeen.
Right. Millions of people.
Yeah. It's a mechanism that forges collective identity through revolutionary empathy. It mobilizes the community to maintain their existence. And then in Confucianism, there's a concept of Shen Zong Zui Yuan.
Which means careful funerals and honoring ancestors, right?
Yes. By painstakingly executing these visible rituals, the text says the people's morality returns to thickness. It reinforces social order and proves the safety net is intact.
The morality returns to thickness. I love that.
It's powerful.
So the ultimate synthesis of all this comes when the text expands on a verse from the Quran, chapter 5, verse 32. If anyone kills a person, it is as if he kills all humanity. Normally we interpret that spatially, right? Like all humans alive right now.
Right, but the text expands it temporally across time.
Yes. If the dead are part of our constituency, killing someone extinguishes the hopes of their ancestors, erases future descendants, and silences accumulated wisdom. You sever an entire timeline.
This raises an important question, though, about the inverse of that verse.
Right.
Properly mourning a life through all these physical rituals we've discussed actively preserves that entire chain. Grief connects you to the whole human race across all eras. It is continuity without severance.
Continuity without severance. We're not just single data points in time. We're rivers flowing from the first breath to the last judgment. And these morning rituals, they are the essential technologies keeping that river flowing.
And the text leaves us with this final, stark warning. Humanity will physically survive, sure, but will it survive as a human race, or just a biological species that coexists without co-suffering?
That's the real question.
The answer lies in whether the next generation will fly across oceans to stand by a weeping friend, or just send a heart emoji.
Think about the people in your own life right now who are carrying grief. Knowing that a text message provides data but no biological bonding, what is one physical way you can step into their messiness this week and help carry their weight? How might your physical presence today alter the emotional survival of generations you will never even meet? Something to mull over. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.